Welcome to the Roy Morgan Weekly Update. Crime is a growing problem in my community, according to 66% of Australians. And mortgage stress is easing, but not for everyone. But first, federal voting intention. The latest Roy Morgan poll, conducted in August with an Australia-wide cross-section of 5,001 electors, found two-party preferred support for the ALP at 56.5%. Well ahead of the coalition on only 43.5%. That's virtually unchanged from the last Roy Morgan poll released at the end of July. One interesting feature in August was a drop in the primary support for both major parties. The ALP was down 2.5% to 34%, and the LNP coalition was down 1% to 30%. Support for the Greens was unchanged at 12%, and the big winners in August were One Nation, up 2% to 9%, and Independents and other parties up 1.5% to 15%. One Nation's support at 9% is now at a record high for the Roy Morgan poll, and comes after a successful federal election for the party, at which it won 4 Senate seats. And the latest Roy Morgan government confidence, whether people think the country's going in the right or the wrong direction, shows not everything is going well for the government. It was down in August by 5 points to 85.5. 50.5% of Australians say the country's going in the wrong direction. Only 36% say the country's going in the right direction. Now, the ALP continues to lead the Liberal National Coalition on a two-party preferred basis in all 6 states. The ALP's largest two-party preferred leads are again in the 2 smaller states, South Australia, where the ALP is 59% to LNP 41%, and Tasmania, where the ALP is 63.5% to LNP 36.5%. The ALP has strengthened its two-party preferred lead amongst women and is now on 60.5%, more than 20 percentage points ahead of the coalition on 39.5%. The gap is far closer among men, with the ALP on 52%, only holding a narrow lead over the coalition on 48%. Analysis by age shows a clear split between those under 50 versus those over 50. Under 50, the ALP holds large two-party preferred leads among both 18 to 34-year-olds and 35 to 49-year-olds, scoring more than 60% support among both these age groups. Over 50, the coalition leads among both age groups. For Australians aged 50 to 64, the coalition has a narrow lead on 50.5%, compared to the ALP on 49.5%. But for those aged 65 and over, coalition support has grown to 56.5%, compared to the ALP on 43.5%. Now, turning to the weekly indicators. ANZ Roy Morgan Consumer Confidence is down 3.4 points to 86 this week. That's the first full week of interviewing after the Reserve Bank's decision to cut interest rates. There's no doubt this is a disappointing result, and a look at the 5 key index questions shows confidence down across all 5. This week, Australians are less confident about their personal financial situations now compared to a year ago. They're less confident about their personal financial situation in the coming year. Less confident that now is a good time to buy major household items, and less confident about the performance of the Australian economy over the next year and the next 5 years. It's quite unusual to see all 5 index questions fall in the same week, especially after a stimulatory move like a cut to interest rates. We're just not happy. We at Roy Morgan will be monitoring consumer confidence closely to see where the sentiment turns around as we move out of winter and into spring. This week, ANZ Roy Morgan inflation expectations increased 0.1% to 5%, reversing last week's small fall. This means Australians now expect inflation of 5% over each of the next 2 years. Now, we often look at mortgage stress monthly, This week, we look at mortgage stress from another angle, the bigger picture, and we look at who's really hurting. Roy Morgan's single source research reveals an estimated 1 million mortgage holders, or 18.5%, were extremely at risk of mortgage stress in the year to June 2025. And that's down 6.5% year on year. So mortgage stress has eased from 2024, driven by factors like real wage growth as inflation declined, income tax cuts, home loan interest rate cuts, and a rising share market. But the decline was only evident among those in the top 3 socioeconomic groups. Among those in the lowest 2 quintiles, or 2 groups, the proportion of mortgage holders at extreme risk of mortgage stress actually increased by 5% among those in the E quintile and by 5.2% among those in the lowest, the FG quintile. For further details on exactly who's being most impacted by mortgage stress, head on to the Roy Morgan website. Now, new Roy Morgan crime research shows 2/3 of Australians, that's 66%, agree that crime is a growing problem in their community. And that's higher than at any point in the last decade. The last time concerns about crime were at this level or higher for a sustained period was back in 2005-2006, around 20 years ago. And before that, in 2001-2002, after the September 11 bombing of the World Trade Center. So the national trend over the last decade shows concerns about crime reached a pre-pandemic high of about 60% in 2016-17, before moderating over the next few years, and concerns about crime fell to a pandemic low of 51% in 2020-2021. But since then, concern has surged and is up 15 percentage points in only 4 years to that 66%. The state-by-state results reveal significant differences, but the same clear upward trend over the last few years. Queensland records the highest current level of concern about crime at 77%, followed by Victoria at 72%, Western Australia at 65%, South Australia at 63%, Tasmania 61%, New South Wales 57%, and the ACT at 51%. And that's a wrap. Thanks for your interest in Roy Morgan's latest results. For more detail on the topics that we've covered today, head on to the Roy Morgan website. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you next week.